Hi, everybody. Welcome to the QB School. I'm JT O'Sullivan. Today, special edition. We're going Q&A and we're going hard knocks. Let's dive into it. Welcome to the QB School. All right, you dig this kind of content and you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, get the notifications, let you know when we go live, when we put out new stuff. Then there are a bunch of different ways to support the channel. You can join the Patreon community. You can get a membership to the YouTube channel. You can also click on this link up in the corner to get the 5 keys to RPO success. And so a bunch of different ways to get over there, support the channel. I appreciate it. Let's dive into the video. Q&A today comes from Jimmy Frescoes. Hey, JT. I was watching Hard Knocks with the 2009 Bengals the other day on YouTube. I noticed you during an episode, and I was just wondering how having a film crew on site all the time changed things during camp. How often did you notice them? Did players and coaches change things they might say or do, knowing they might be on camera? Big fan of the show and appreciate you taking the time. Jimmy, outstanding question. Been wanting to do this one for a long time for a few different reasons. One, I'm a huge fan of Hard Knocks. I enjoy it, watch it all the time. It's been one of my favorite shows for as long as I can remember. It is the kind of original peek behind the curtain. I think it's done really well, and I just enjoyed it. The flip side of that is getting an opportunity to be on a team featured on Hard Knocks was an experience in and of itself. And there are a few things that resonate with me about that experience, and I'm going to hopefully touch on a bunch of them, but I want to make sure to kind of answer the question too at the same time. It was a wild experience, and it was cool on a number of different fronts. Kind of like having this channel has opened up a few doors that have been fun for me to do things and participate either on podcasts or shows that I'm a fan of. It's wild to be on a show that you're a fan of. And so for me, having the film crews around, you always hear, I remember Marvin saying, hey, we're going to have the film crews. Don't worry, eventually you won't even notice them. They'll fade into the background. They're really good at their jobs, and they are really good at their jobs. That was one of the major benefits about that show, is getting to build a little bit of a relationship with some of the people who are part of that crew. They're probably the reason why I got an NFL Films special after finishing grad school. So those type of relationships, or kind of building those things through that show, kind of translated into things further along in my career. But as far as did the film crew ever feel like they weren't there? Did they ever bleed into the background? For me, no. I mean, that's just the honest truth. I can't speak for everybody. But back in the day, 2009, those HD cameras were massive. And so you'd be in a huddle or talking to your friends, and there'd just be some massive, huge lens right in your face with a boom mic. And I mean, I was, it might be hard to be able to tease out of this channel with these videos, but I'm usually pretty careful about the words that I use, and I'm not, or wasn't when I was in camp. It's no excuse. I'm not necessarily anti-swearing or cursing, but I think I do a pretty good job of being able to pick and choose my words depending on my environment. Well, the most kind of lax environment you could possibly imagine is an NFL training camp. You're around your coworkers. It's an intense situation. Insert any excuse you want, but it's language flies all over the place. Well, I'm not necessarily comfortable dropping that kind of language on camera. And so that in and of itself was a weird filter for me. I never got used to it. The other experiences that I remember is, they would just put mics on pads. I don't know if I signed a document or something saying that I wanted to be part of the show. But I was pretty fortunate to have the Palmer brothers in Cincinnati with me at the same time, and they kind of had like a natural story to them. It was pretty cool, to have brothers on a team. Carson was obviously really good. Jordan was a personality in and of himself, and so they kind of took the lead in our kind of quarterback room, and I did a nice job of kind of stepping back, even though Carson got hurt that camp and I had to play a lot, and that part of it was fun. But the idea of kind of being yourself all the time in training camp, for me, I'd be lying if I said I felt like I really could, just because there are cameras everywhere. And so whether it's a massive camera on a practice field right next to you, after you throw a pick, or in the meeting room, there were like these huge bubbles, kind of like, like a surveillance camera, except they're not quite as slick as they are nowadays. You could hear the camera in the room kind of turning. Like it would be like, you would, all of a sudden you'd be talking about something and then they'd be like, and it was like a tinted bubble, but you could feel the camera moving. So there was this big brother vibe for me. And, I think that there are some clips of it from me from that camp in the NFL Films feature that they did, just as far as like watching film with like ice on me or something like that. There are, in that regard, it just felt a little bit manufactured. And that was just my experience from it. The other part that I will say is people absolutely play to the camera. Now, there's an element of that in the NFL, regardless whether Hard Knocks is there or not. There's an element of entertainment, massive personalities magnified by dollars and camera crews every week, and all that type of media attention. And so you always are going to play with guys that, in my opinion, are kind of like professional wrestlers who can turn it on and off. When the lights are on, they might have a persona, and then when they're just in the locker room with the fellas, they're just another one of the guys. And so that's definitely magnified in Hard Knocks. It was for me, as far as watching certain people kind of rise to the occasion, so to speak. But the thing that I will really take away from that specific Hard Knocks, now again, I'm a fan of Hard Knocks. Like, I enjoy it, and I dig it on a number of different levels. I feel fortunate that I wasn't cut during Hard Knocks, because I feel terrible for those people who are. They do a great job of making you fall in love with some of the players, and then not everybody can make the team. So I'm fortunate for that not to happen on HBO. But the part that I take away from that show specifically for me was that you watch the show like a week behind. So when you're in camp, I mean, it basically, it's real time. So like, I would sit there with Jordan and Carson in our little quarterback suite, and we would watch Hard Knocks. And I mean, it's kind of surreal. I just remember it being a really cool thing, whether I was on the show or not. I wasn't a main character by any means, but that part of it was cool. And then I remember specifically, I'm gonna have to go back and watch this. I haven't watched this at all, but I remember really clearly Carson got hurt and had to like go back to Cincinnati for something. And they showed him like playing catch on the field, warming up or doing some sort of rehab. And they caught him like staring at a cheerleader or something. And I just remembered that it being awkward, that kind of being the sequence, whatever it was. And I remember kind of sitting there with them and being like, this is probably not good. And his phone starts blowing up, wife. And I mean, obviously it was nothing, but it was the idea being that getting caught on HBO, like checking out the cheerleaders while you're at work, was something that I took away from that thing. And just being able to watch it with the fellas and going through that experience was pretty cool. And it really is cool to be able to say that you got an opportunity to be on Hard Knocks and all those things. But it definitely wasn't cool, and I wasn't in the space in my career where I really wanted to like have a live mic on me, or like, I remember taking mics off my pads all the times, whether it was in a game or at practice, and just, it wasn't for me. So I think that they got that pretty quickly, that it wasn't for me, and they probably didn't want me as the lead on the show either. But regardless, I have a kind of soft spot for the show. Just love the show. Was fun being on it. Wild experience, but I don't know how anybody ever gets used to having a boom mic and a camera around them to kind of like let their guard down and be their true authentic self. But I'm sure there are people that do that, and the show obviously is awesome and resonates across the board, and has for years, and has been really kind of a cool kind of window into kind of what I do and what I'm doing with these videos, with kind of the life in the league stuff and peek behind the curtain. So hopefully you enjoy it. If you have other questions, leave them in the comments. Try to get to as many good ones as I possibly can. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.